The Short-Tail Stingray. Nobody in waist-deep water is looking down. That's the problem, because this animal spends its life buried in sand you could stand on and never notice. The strike that killed the most famous animal handler on the planet lasted a fraction of a second, and the venom had almost nothing to do with it. These rays reach 7 feet across, and on a big one, the tail barb runs 8 inches. It isn't a stinger, it's a tooth, and the serrations face backward, so the wound tears worse coming out than going in. Somewhere along the line, nature decided the answer to something biting from above was a serrated tooth on a whip. Bold. Most people assume a stingray that stings has attacked. It hasn't. The tail fires upward at whatever is overhead, because for a couple 100 million years, that has meant a predator. In 2006, one of those reflexes went through a chest wall into a beating heart. He didn't die of venom, he bled out. And the ray is still out there doing what it's always done, which is nothing. Extremely well. Every fatal encounter on record started with a person standing somewhere the ray had already decided was safe. The giant freshwater stingray. This one doesn't live in a trench you'll never visit. It lives in rivers where people fish, wash clothes, and wade across on the way home. In 2022, a fisherman on the Mekong hauled up a world record nobody expected a stingray to hold. 13 feet nose to tail, roughly 660 pounds. Picture something wider than a dining table. Now picture it heavier than a grand piano. Now put it in muddy water with villages on both banks, where it looks like a section of riverbed decided to get up and leave. Its barb has been reported at 15 inches, with accounts of it punching through bone. A tail is a whip, and the tip carries the most speed, so a longer spike arrives faster without the animal needing strength at all. 15 inches is longer than most kitchen knives, which is not a comparison anybody wants to sit with. Ask which animal holds the freshwater size record, and nearly everyone says catfish. It's not a catfish, it's a ray, and it's listed as endangered. The largest freshwater fish ever measured isn't a fish with teeth. It's a flat gray disc with a spike on the back end. The Round Stingray. Nobody quits swimming because of this animal. They quit because of a fin. Meanwhile, the thing sending people to the lifeguard tower is the size of a salad plate. There's one stretch of California coast that produces so many stings it picked up a nickname, and not because the rays are angry. The northern end of Seal Beach is called Ray Bay, and it's a nursery ground. Warm water pouring out of coastal outfalls keeps it comfortable, so the rays stack up exactly where people wade in. The Shark Lab at Cal State Long Beach has estimated over 10,000 round stingray stings across Southern California in a single summer. The worldwide total for unprovoked shark bites in 2025 was 65. An animal the size of a side plate is outscoring every great white on the planet. Turns out the stingray shuffle doesn't work, because the ray politely steps aside. Dragging your feet sends a vibration ahead of you, and the ray leaves first. Researchers have tracked this coast for 2 decades, and the rays keep winning, which is a strange thing to have to write down. The most dangerous animal at that beach isn't the one everyone's watching the horizon for. It's already under the water they're standing in. If you're into this kind of thing, I post new animal videos regularly, and subscribing really helps. Thanks. The Atlantic Torpedo. Every other danger in the water has to touch you. This one has range. And Roman doctors used it on purpose, which is not a sentence most animals earn. It's the largest electric ray going, nearly 6 feet and 200 pounds. And behind that soft, dark body sit 2 kidney-shaped organs of stacked cells wired in series, like a battery. Reported discharges run up to 220 volts. A wall socket in an American house runs 120. This animal roughly doubles it, in salt water, on a fish without a single tooth worth mentioning. Scribonius Largus, a physician in the Roman army, prescribed laying a live one on the forehead for headaches. That was a treatment plan. Written down, taken seriously for centuries. Despite the name, this animal wasn't named after the weapon. Torpedo comes from the Latin for numb, and the Navy borrowed the word from the fish. The thing people watch for announces itself with a fin. This one arrives as a sensation and no explanation. Honestly, nature looked at the problem of self-defense, considered teeth, and grew a battery instead. A shark has to reach you. This one just has to be near you, and the water does the rest. The Blue-Spotted Ribbontail Ray. This is the ray people photograph. Electric blue spots on sand-yellow skin, in water clear enough to watch your own feet. And it's also the ray people reach for. There's a reason experienced divers give this small, shy animal more room than they give things 10 times its size. It's under 1.5 feet across, and instead of one barb, it carries 2 venomous spines near the tip of the tail. The tail runs close to twice the length of the body, so the spines sit out where the whip moves fastest. The whole weapon is longer than the animal it's attached to. It looks like a child colored it in and a committee armed it. This thing is a runner, not a fighter, so the barbs only come into play when something already has it pinned. Most animals settle for one weapon. This one carries a spare, like it's expecting a long day. Nobody has a good explanation for why the prettiest ray on the reef is also the only one that needed 2. Venom never needed size to work. It needed a species patient enough to wait for somebody to make a mistake. The Ocellate river stingray. Across most of the Amazon basin, the water is the road. People fish in it, wade through it, and cross it daily, so there's no deep end to stay out of. And the pain from this animal isn't the part that ends up in the medical literature. What happens over the following 2 weeks is, it's a freshwater ray patterned with orange and black eye spots, matching the leaf litter it sits under. Its venom is necrotizing, proteolytic, and myotoxic, which is a lot of words for one outcome. The tissue around the wound starts dying. Published estimates put skin necrosis above 90% of stingray injuries in several Brazilian states, and some case reports end in amputation. The chemistry isn't built to shut down a nervous system. It's built to take tissue apart, which is why the injury keeps developing long after the animal has swum off. Nature had a choice between fast and thorough, and went with thorough. Now put that across a basin larger than the continental United States. Deaths tied to Amazonian stingrays run as high as 8 a year across South American nations. Sharks kill roughly 5 or 6 people worldwide in that same span. So the most dangerous animal in that water is a flat disc that never leaves the bottom. Great. It's the reason a river you can walk across gets more respect than the ocean does. The Pelagic Stingray. Blue water, no bottom in sight, hundreds of miles from anywhere. That's the one place a person is genuinely only thinking about sharks. Every other ray on Earth is built around the seafloor, and this one has almost no relationship with it. The common version of this animal is wrong, by the way. It isn't a coastal ray that drifted too far out and got lost. It's a species that left the bottom behind and never went back. And as far as anyone can tell, it's the only stingray living its whole life in open ocean. An entire family of bottom dwellers, and one member looked at the bottom and decided it was optional. Losing the seafloor also means losing camouflage, so the defense had to work with nothing to hide behind. The barb is what's left when burying yourself stops being a plan. It's also a top 5 bycatch species on Atlantic swordfish longliners, so the most reliable way to meet one is to haul it onto a moving deck, which is exactly where a tail-mounted spike does the most damage. And it's a flat, bottom-shaped animal flapping through water 2 miles deep, which looks as wrong as it sounds. Of every stingray species alive, exactly 1 made it into open ocean, and it kept the spike. The Smalltooth Sawfish. Everything else out here delivers its damage from behind, almost as an afterthought. This one leads with the weapon. And it's a ray, not a shark and not a swordfish, which almost nobody guesses until they notice the gills on the underside. It reaches around 16 feet. The saw, properly the rostrum, accounts for up to 1/3 of total body length, and carries 20 to 30 teeth down each side, which aren't teeth in the normal sense either, just modified scales set into cartilage. On a full-grown animal, that's a toothed blade about as long as a person is tall. It hunts by swinging the thing sideways through schools of fish, and a sideways swipe sweeps far more water than a forward bite ever could. The rostrum is also studded with electroreceptors, so it's a sensor and a weapon at once, which is a lot of job description for one face. Imagine going through life with a hedge trimmer bolted to the front of your head. The species was listed as critically endangered in 2006, and now holds under 20% of its former range. By now, the pattern is hard to miss. The silhouette people brace for has jaws. Most of the animals that actually cut them don't. Every other ray keeps its weapon behind it. This one put it out front. The Cownose Ray. Most rays are a one-at-a-time problem. This one arrives in numbers that turn open water dark from the air. And its barb sits somewhere no other ray puts it. They migrate the United States Atlantic and Gulf coasts in schools running to 10,000 animals. And from above, a school reads as a dark stain spreading across the surface. Their serrated spines sit near the base of the tail, rather than out at the tip, so a strike lands closer to the body and drives deeper. The face genuinely looks like it was pressed flat against a pane of glass, which is where the name came from, and also why nobody takes them seriously. Safety in numbers is the whole strategy, because these animals take 7 years to mature, and then produce a single pup a year. That reputation for eating the Chesapeake empty comes from a 2007 paper blaming collapsing bay scallops on a boom in ray numbers, and it launched an actual fishery to cull them. A reassessment in 2016 took it apart. The scallops had crashed before the rays increased, and an animal producing 1 pup a year can't boom anyway. 9 years to walk that back. Science gets there eventually, just not always before somebody starts a fishery. It spent almost a decade as the villain of the Chesapeake, and the case against it was that it showed up in numbers and looked guilty. Fear has never once been a measure of risk. The Spotted Eagle Ray. Every precaution people take around rays assumes 2 things. The danger is at your feet, and the weapon is the spine. Both were wrong once, and it cost somebody their life. The barb never touched her. In 2008, off Marathon in the Florida Keys, a spotted eagle ray with a 5 to 6 foot wingspan and a weight around 75 pounds came out of the water and struck a 57-year-old woman in a boat moving at roughly 25 miles an hour. The medical examiner recorded blunt force craniocerebral trauma. Officials were clear that it wasn't an attack. These are strong swimmers that leap clear of the surface, and marine biologists still argue about why. Parasite removal, communication, courtship, escape, nothing is settled there either. The physics isn't complicated though. Energy scales with the square of the closing speed, so the animal's own weight barely matters. A boat doing 25, a ray already airborne, and the whole thing finished before anyone on board understood what had happened. 75 pounds of animal, no teeth, no venom, no intent, and it still won. Scientists have watched these rays jump for decades, and the best answer is still a shrug. Whatever the reason turns out to be, it isn't us. The Common Stingray. This one isn't tropical, and it isn't a river monster. It lives in the Mediterranean and the Eastern Atlantic, and it's the ray that shaped how the Western world thinks about rays. The oldest story anybody tells about it ends with a spear, and the spearhead wasn't metal. It grows to about the size of a dining table, with a barbed spine up to 35 centimeters long, grooved for venom. In Greek myth, Circe armed her son Telegonus with a spear tipped with a stingray spine, and he used it to kill his own father, Odysseus. Pliny the Elder wrote in the 1st century that the spine could kill trees, pierce armor like an arrow, and corrode iron. So the oldest recorded weapons upgrade in the Western canon is a guy stealing a part off a fish. The old claim about killing trees and corroding iron was wrong, but the fear underneath it wasn't. The spine tears, it envenomates, and for most of recorded history, nobody could do a thing about either. 3,000 years ago, a spearhead in a story. 2,000 years ago, an entry in a Roman encyclopedia. And the same spine, sitting in the same water this afternoon, doing absolutely nothing. The silhouette people scan the horizon for got the headlines and the film franchise. The animal we copied our weapons from is lying flat under 6 inches of sand, waiting for everyone to look somewhere else. 3,000 years of stories, 1 dead hero, and an animal that has never once come looking for a human being. We built the legend. It just kept lying there. I post new animals like this every week, so hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.